"This isn't a shelter, little girl. You need to leave now." The waiter's voice, Ethan, sliced through the opulent air of Rothmore's like a newly sharpened blade. Every head in Manhattan's most exclusive steakhouse swiveled. There, near a plush booth, stood a small black girl in a pristine white dress. Her name was Amira. Her curls, like a halo, bounced ever so slightly as she looked up, her expression a mix of confusion and remarkable calm. She hadn't uttered a single sound. She had simply audaciously taken Ethan's seat, a folded piece of paper clutched in one hand, a worn leather purse in the other. Ethan scoffed, a sneer twisting his lips. "This is a reservation-only section. You don't just wander in here like it's a soup kitchen." Silence hung heavy, punctuated only by the clinking of silverware. No one moved. No one offered help. But Amira did something else. She pulled out her phone, her small fingers expertly tapping a number labeled, "Dad." What she whispered next made the formidable manager at the front door freeze in his tracks. "What did she say?" Ethan's smirk widened, dripping with condescension as he leaned closer. "Unless you're here to clean the table, sweetheart, I suggest you leave before security does it for you." A soft, almost imperceptible gasp rippled from a woman 2 tables over. Amira's fingers curled tighter around her phone. She spoke into it, her voice a study in gentle precision. "Hi, Dad. Yeah, they think I don't belong here again." Then, with a quiet, deliberate movement, she slid a card onto the gleaming table. It read in elegant script, "Amira Thomas Holdings." Ethan, blinded by his own arrogance, didn't even glance at it. He was already motioning to the towering security guard. "I set out." The guard took a step forward, his imposing shadow falling over Amira, until his earpiece buzzed, pulling him up short. "Sir," the guard hesitated, his eyes darting towards the host's stand, I think we have a situation." What happened next would shatter the power dynamic of the entire restaurant. The maitre d', usually composed and unruffled, suddenly bolted from the front. He weaved frantically between tables, nearly sending a tray of expensive wine crashing to the floor. "Where is she? Where's Miss Thomas?" he practically screamed, his voice laced with panic. Ethan raised a dismissive brow. "Who?" Then the host spotted Amira, still seated, still remarkably calm amidst the escalating chaos. "Oh God," he whispered, his face draining of all color. "That's her. That's Jeremiah's daughter." Ethan's face, moments ago smug, now lost every ounce of its hue. "You mean Jeremiah Thomas? As in, the owner?" "Yes," the host gasped, desperation in his eyes. "As in your paycheck? That Jeremiah?" Ethan turned excruciatingly slowly to Amira, who now stood up, calmly placing her napkin on the table. She looked him straight in the eye, her gaze unwavering. "My father told me to stay seated. He'll be here in 3 minutes. 3 minutes. In that moment it would feel like a lifetime. The entire restaurant shifted. Chairs ceased their scraping. Conversations died, replaced by a suffocating silence. Amira stood composed, poised, and utterly silent. One small hand rested on the table, the other still held her phone, still connected. Ethan opened his mouth, then snapped it shut, no words forming. Outside, a sleek black SUV screeched to a halt with a barely perceptible whisper of tires. A tall man in a flawlessly tailored navy suit stepped out, flanked by 2 silent, imposing associates. He didn't speak. He didn't need to. The maitre d' practically tripped over himself to yank open the restaurant door. "Mr. Thomas. We didn't know." Jeremiah's eyes, cold and calculated, landed first on Ethan, then softened perceptibly as they found his daughter. Amira simply stated, her voice clear in the echoing silence. "He grabbed me, called me a stray." The silence that followed was louder than any scream, more impactful than any outburst. Every breath in the room seemed to hold. What would Jeremiah do? Jeremiah didn't yell. He walked directly to Amira, stood protectively beside her, then turned his gaze, sharp and unwavering, back to Ethan. "Do you know what happens," he asked, his voice low but cutting, "when someone touches my child without consent?" Ethan visibly trembled. I didn't know that." "Is the problem," Jeremiah interrupted, his voice devoid of emotion, yet carrying the weight of absolute authority. The room held its breath, suspended in a moment of reckoning. Amira then handed her father the napkin she had placed on the table. On it, in her neat, childish handwriting, was a simple, profound message. "Kindness is always first class." Jeremiah read it, a subtle nod acknowledging the wisdom of his daughter's words. "This restaurant," he announced, his voice carrying to every corner, We'll close for one day tomorrow for staff training. He then looked directly at the stunned host. He's not invited. As Jeremiah and Amira exited, hand in hand, a silent, unyielding force, not a single person spoke. Only Ethan remained behind, a hollow, broken figure, because sometimes, silence is the loudest justice of all. Amira Thomas didn't raise her voice, but she fundamentally changed the room. Sometimes true power doesn't shout. It dials quietly and waits. The story of Amira reminds us, never judge someone by their size, their skin, or their silence. Respect should never be based on assumptions.